Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia Europe. This is actually the headlines for Europe. And before I start, please remember to press the like button or your oil price will increase by double. Yes, or Russia will cut your gas. Okay, sorry, not funny. Okay, anyway, get back to the headlines. First, Liechtenstein. So Liechtenstein on the 26th of April had its veto initiative adopted by the UN General Assembly without even a vote. So the Liechtenstein reported in the government press release that the UN General Assembly must automatically meet within 10 days if a veto is used in the Security Council by one of its 5 permanent members. So Liechtenstein have been pushing for this initiative and is very well received within the United Nations General Assembly. So they have started work on this initiative more than 2 years ago, and the support is so strong that it's adopted actually without a vote. So I'm not sure what this meeting within the 10 days could do. Maybe it's just for the United Nations General Assembly to just condemn the veto, but I don't think it's going to be able to do much other than making noise. Now we go to Croatia. Croatia, right? Yeah, Croatia. So President Zoran Milanović insists the rights of Croats in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that is more insists that their rights is actually more important than Finland and Sweden joining NATO. So this is a very interesting story. When I first read it, I got really confused because you need some kind of context. So let's go to context. Let's go to the context first. So what happens is that in Bosnia and Herzegovina, there is this election system problem. So there is a demand for election reform within Bosnia, and this reform is not happening, and the Croatian are really unhappy because they feel that the existing law is illegitimate and have election engineering with it, and then it will cause the detriment of the Croats within Bosnia and Herzegovina. So he condemned it, and then he's trying to push through some kind of pressure through the EU on Bosnia in order for to protect the rights of the Croats within a neighboring country, which is here, Bosnia Herzegovina. So and so the president is so insistent that this issue within Bosnia and Herzegovina is more important than NATO accepting Finland and Sweden, that he actually threatens to veto. So at an event, he reiterated that Croatia have a historic opportunity to fight for the Bosnian and Herzegovina Croats, which is actually in Croatia's interest, and this is not just a wild wish. And then he even threatened anyone within the parliament that whoever votes otherwise for the accession of Sweden and Finland into NATO, a traitor, because he felt that whoever is within the parliament did not solve the problem of the Croats within the problem faced by the Croats within Bosnia and Herzegovina. Instead went to go ahead to vote for Sweden and Finland into NATO, is basically having their priorities wrong, and thus he's labeling them as traitor, and there is no other way, he said. So he also have this problem with his prime minister, and he said that he's now taking on the burden of being awful, of people hating him, throwing AIDS at him, bullying him, because he's fighting for a just cause, and this is his duty. He's the president and supreme commander, so he is really strong on this. And not on top of that, he also mentioned something about, so this is the guy, so he also mentioned a bit about the Rafale jets or Rafale jets. So the president criticized the prime minister about the purchase of the 12 Rafale fighter jets from France. He said that they are overpaid and they are useless, and France have not advocated changes to the election law in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So he felt that he said, where's France's assistance regarding Bosnia and Herzegovina? How much needs to be paid? $10 billion? 10 billion euros? Is $1.5 billion not enough? So basically he's saying that this is a bribe for France to actually act on Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the president Milanović believed that it's better for Croatia to just buy 100 drones and strengthen its air defense. But he said that Plenković, the prime minister, decided to personally buy the jets that are unnecessary for Croatia and is actually useless in the war. It's only good for showing. So he added, what use do we have for 12 Rafales with very little equipment and very few missiles? Do you see how short the jet's lifespan in the war is? So basically he's referring to the Ukraine war, how fast the Air Force actually get decimated within the actual war. So he added that unless it's the best. So he added that Hungary with a 10 to 12 interceptor did not even detect a Soviet-produced drone that fell in Zagreb suburbs in March. So it is a further criticism in terms of the prime minister on his useless purchase of fighter jets that is proving more and more useless in modern warfare. So this is something coming out from Croatia. I bet you did not hear it in other news. So in Netherlands and Sweden, actually, both Netherlands and Sweden, something weird had happened. So the port workers in Netherlands and Sweden refuses to upload Russian diesel. So port workers in Rotterdam and Amsterdam have refused to unload a cargo of 60,000 tons of Russian diesel after the tanker departed from the Baltic Sea port of Primorsk. So and was refused entry into the port in Sweden earlier last week. So this tanker is pretty sad. It's going around and unable to unload its cargo. So the Sunni Liga tanker with Russian diesel is on board, traveling under the flag of the Marshall Islands, and is currently idling off Amsterdam because it can't really go. It's probably around here now because nobody wants their diesel. So this is the self-sanctioning in the Western Europe regarding the purchase and deliveries of Russian crude oil and products, even though the EU has not agreed to impose such an official embargo on imports of Russian oil. So more Russian oil is currently heading towards Dutch ports, which is the heart of Northwest Europe oil trading and refining industry. So this is a very, very interesting news. Why? Because Europe actually needs that oil. They needed that oil, and the port workers themselves self-impose this sanction on Russia when the EU themselves are not ready to apply such a sanction on Russian diesel and oil. So they're only sanctioning the gas, but they're not sanctioning the oil yet. So but with the port workers refusing to work and unload the diesel thanks to the crazy Russophobia that's sweeping across Europe, this seems like a self-pawn, a self-inflicted problem for Europe, and now this might actually triggers into a problem, overflow into a problem of lack of fuel or diesel or fuel supply issues within at least this part of Europe, because workers are refusing to unload the diesel. And how are you going to make them unload the diesel? I have no idea, because you already brainwashed them into thinking that Russian diesel is toxic. So there's that. Moving on to Hungary. So we are still on diesel and oil. So Hungary is still opposed to any European Union embargo on Russian oil and gas import, so said the government spokesman. So the Hungarian stance regarding oil and gas embargo has not changed, and they do not support them. So, and according to another article from the Detroit News, that the Hungary will be ready to veto European Union's sanction on Russian oil industry if the measures restricted Budapest's ability to import energy, according to a senior official in the Prime Minister Viktor Orban's government. So Hungary is here. So they are really close. They are just next to Ukraine, and they and Slovakia both are very dependent on Russian gas and oil. So they are now threatening to veto European Union's sanction against Russia. This is and they are really very adamant about it. So they are not going to sacrifice their own country's security, energy security, just to make Russia pay for something that the Russians wouldn't be paying, essentially. So this is something that we will watch, because the European Union is struggling to put out a statement because of the Hungarian and Slovakian opposition in this issue. And this is also an example of why expansion of any organization is the bad idea, be it NATO or be it European Union. So as European Union they have a European Parliament, and every country has veto power. That makes things really hard to work. Well, when you have so many people having the ability to veto anything. So as a result, European Union, as it expands further and further, it makes it less and less effective. Adding Ukraine in will just screw up the entire functioning of European Union. Not to mention it's a war zone, and it might not look like this in the coming years. After the war is over, it might actually be slashed into half. So there's a possibility facing Ukraine and European Union. And the same thing for NATO. As NATO continue to expand further, they are accepting a lot of countries that are basically useless militarily. For example, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, they can't really do much within the context of NATO as a military. So NATO primarily is just United States, UK, France, Germany, Poland, Turkey, and I think that's about it. That have proper size or military that can actually make a difference. Everyone is just there along for the ride. So moving on to the next news. Ukraine news. This news is from Ukraine. So Ukraine formally closes 4 seaports that were captured by the Russians, but they are still exporting grains. So this is kind of a funny news to me. So Mariupol, Berdyansk, Skadov, and the Black Sea port of Kherson is now closed until restoration of control, said the ministry. So they are announcing the closure of ports that they have no control about. Which is kind of weird. So the adoption of this measure is caused by the impossibility to service ships and passenger to carry out cargo, transport, and other related economic activities, while ensuring appropriate level of safety of navigation. So all seaports has suspended their activities due to Russian invasion. However, the Ukrainian ministry continues to add that they are still exporting grains, and they are very proud that the export has now reached 45 million tons, and this volume includes 763,000 tons exported in April, but there's no comparative figure. So, and in this month, so agriculture officials said that Ukraine exported up to 300,000 tons of grain in March. So from my understanding, Ukraine is going to face a food crisis, and this exporting of grain from Ukraine doesn't look very wise. So according to some sources, they are saying that this is because they are forced to sell grain in exchange for military aid. So they need to actually buy the military weapons, and the only way to get some of these weapons and resources and maybe oil, fuel, and stuff like this is to sell in exchange of grain. So we might see some serious problem coming for Ukraine soon. Going to France. Oh, it's here. So in France, so welcome to France. Bonjour. France have culled 16 million chickens, ducks, and other poultry due to bird flu outbreak. So a record 16 million birds has been killed in France since November, as in one of the most severe bird flu outbreak in years, say the Agriculture Ministry. So the country has been hit by several epidemic, but they are usually in the southwest. So southwest is usually around here, but this time round, and in the southwest, and usually it's the ducks that are bred for the lucrative foie liver pate industry. So it's all the very expensive food, basically the tongue of the duck or the liver of the duck, sorry. So but then in this winter, for the first time, the wild birds migrating back from the south, they are contaminated with the disease, and they actually brought the virus up and causing a second wave of infection. So the culling of such large number generates substantial costs for the farmers, as production have to stop and export market closes. But the state, France, will actually compensate the farmers for their losses. But also as a result, egg production has dropped around 6% since November as a result of this outbreak. So something that rather significant, if you ask me. 60 million birds killed in France. And let's go to Spain. Spain have this huge how do you put it, scandal, because the prime minister and the defense minister's phone is hacked by the Israeli Pegasus spyware. So data is confirmed to have been downloaded from the cell phone used by the prime minister and the defense minister of Spain, as their phone is infected with the powerful spyware known as Pegasus from the Israelis. So this revelation have reached the highest echelon of the Spanish government, which broadens this scandal, because previously this was only known to be installed on devices of dozens of politicians from pro-independence government of Catalonia. So now the prime minister and defense minister themselves are now being surveillanced by Pegasus spyware for a year. So they are still trying to figure out who other ministers and senior officials has been targeted by this spying. And the national court is now charged with cases of terrorism and other serious crime to investigate how this Pegasus is being used to monitor the Spanish official. So this is the biggest news coming out from Spain. Very serious, to be honest. And so the Spain has been using this to spy on Catalonia, and they themselves got spied on as well. So kind of a contradiction there. In Bulgaria, the Bulgarian parliament votes. They're going to be voting on whether to send military aids to Ukraine. So Bulgaria is here. They're just next to Ukraine. Oh, sorry, they are next to Romania. Sorry. So the Bulgarian parliament will be voting on providing military aid to Ukraine. So one of Change Continues coalition partners, the pro-Russian Bulgarian Socialist Party, has repeatedly said that it will leave the coalition, the ruling coalition, if a division is approved. So without the votes of the BSP, which is the Bulgarian Socialist Party, the ruling coalition must rely on the support from the opposition. And despite its criticism of Petkov, the prime minister's government, so some GERB, I forgot who is GERB, has insisted on the adoption of a decision on the military aid to Ukraine. So again, GERB is I think you need to open the article. GERB, I think, is the leader. So let's find where is GERB. So GERB party, sorry. GERB is actually the political party. So the GERB has insisted on the adoption of the division for military aid. and so did the Movement for Rights and Freedom, I think, which is another political party. But it's not clear yet if the two parties will indeed back the government. So these are all rhetoric at this moment. And the BSP leader and current economic minister, Cornelia Ninova, gave a few signals that the party might back off from its firm position. So Pekov does not believe that Ninova will quit the coalition, which is this minister of the BSP. And the analysts widely believe that such a move is highly unlikely because that would cause the BSP the last chance to be in power. So we'll look at whether this vote will go through. It's not going swimmingly in Bulgaria regarding this Ukraine petition on the Ukraine war, as it's not really supported by everyone. In Lithuania, so Lithuania just opened a gas pipeline all the way stretching to Poland. So the Lithuania have opened a gas pipeline to Poland to offset some of the shortfall caused by Russia's decision to cut off supply to Warsaw. So this pipeline is built by Lithuanian gas network operator Embargo and has started pumping gas to Poland on Sunday afternoon. So the gas interconnection Poland-Lithuania pipeline, the GIPL, was completed earlier last year and stretched 508 kilometers from Genuinai, which is this town. I'm not sure why so specific, and all the way to the gas network in Holowice. I don't know how to pronounce this word. So Holowice. Anyway, the pipeline will supply Poland with 2 billion cubic meters of gas per year, which covers 10% of Poland's yearly demand, and it will reach its full capacity in October. So currently they are pumping gas but not at their full capacity yet. So the opening ceremony will be on May the 5th, which will be attended by Lithuania, Polish and Latvian president, the EU Energy Commissioner, and the Baltic and Polish ministers. So it's going to be a very big event. So from Lithuania all the way to Poland. So this is going to solve some problem, I guess. And finally, in the bizarre news, Germany is taking Italy to the UN courts over Nazi compensation claims. So Italy continues to allow Nazis, war crime victims, to continue to claim compensation from the German state, even though the earlier rulings have claimed that this violates international law. So Germany is unhappy, and they have filed a lawsuit against Italy at the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, so the highest UN court. So published on the ICJ website, Berlin application said that Italy continues to allow compensation claims to be brought on in domestic court, despite the ICJ 2012 ruling that stipulating this violated Germany's right to immunity under international law. So since 2012 ruling, Berlin said that there is more than 25 new compensation claims filed in Italy against the German state for damages arising from Nazi crimes during World War II. So the court have ordered Germany to pay compensation in many cases, and including 2 Italian courts that tried to seize properties in Rome owned by the German state. So that is quite aggressive, if you ask me. So an Italian court said it will decide by May 25th whether to force a sale of building owned by Germany. So Germany now announced that they have filed the case at ICJ. So it looks like Italy is stealing. Italy is here. They are stealing from Germany to pay compensation for a war that is more than 100 years ago. So not more than 100 years ago, sorry, not so long ago yet, but like 80 over years ago. So a very bizarre news. So this is the headlines coming out from Europe. Hope these are interesting to you, and please remember to press the like button if you have not subscribed. Do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next update.